The USS Valiant moved quietly through the darkness of space. Inside the ship, Captain Daniel Harris sat in his command chair, reading reports from the day's patrol. Everything seemed normal and peaceful. The ship had been traveling along the outer edge of known space for 3 weeks now, and nothing interesting had happened. Daniel was a tall man with short brown hair and tired eyes. He had been in the military for 15 years, and this was his first command of a deep space vessel. Earth had only been exploring far space for about 10 years, and they were still learning about the galaxy and the other species that lived in it. Lieutenant Kate Morrison sat at the communication station, watching her screens carefully. She was young, only 26 years old, with blonde hair tied back in a tight bun. Suddenly, her screen showed something strange. A signal was coming through on a frequency that human ships never used. "Captain, I'm getting something weird here," Kate said, her voice uncertain. "It's a signal, but it's not like anything we normally see." Daniel got up from his chair and walked over to her station. He looked at the patterns on her screen. They were definitely not human. After years of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, Earth had finally met other alien species 5 years ago. The meeting had been peaceful, but the aliens had been careful around humans. They treated Earth like a new kid at school who had to prove himself first. "Can you figure out what it says?" Daniel asked. Kate's fingers moved quickly across her keyboard. "I'm trying." "The computer is comparing it to the alien languages we know." She stopped suddenly, and her face went pale. "Sir, it's a distress call. An alien colony is being attacked. They're asking for military help from anyone nearby." Commander Jake Peterson, the second in command, stepped closer. He was a stocky man with red hair and freckles. "Which aliens are calling for help?" "The Zenthari," Kate answered. "They're on a planet called Kepler 442b. Daniel knew about the Zenthari. They were peaceful aliens who were good at talking and making deals. They had been one of the first alien species to say hello to humans, though they had been cautious about it. "How far away is that planet?" Daniel asked. The navigator, Ensign Chris Bailey, checked his computer. 18 hours if we go as fast as we can." Jake frowned. "Are there any other ships closer? Surely someone else is responding." Kate shook her head slowly. "Sir, I'm checking all the channels. This distress call has been going out for more than 3 hours. Nobody has answered it." Everyone on the bridge went quiet. Daniel felt the heaviness of making a big decision. Earth was not officially part of the Galactic Council yet. They were still being tested and watched. Many of the older alien species did not trust human military power. "Lieutenant Morrison, send them a message. Tell them the USS Valiant got their call and we're coming to help. We'll be there in 18 hours, Daniel ordered. Jake spoke quietly so only Daniel could hear. "Sir, shouldn't we call Earth Command first and ask for permission?" Daniel looked his friend in the eyes. "By the time we get permission and orders, it might be too late. We're the only ones close enough to help. I'll take the blame if there's trouble." Kate sent the response message while Daniel walked back to his chair. He had no idea what they were flying into, but he knew one thing for sure. Someone had asked for help, and Earth was going to answer. The ship's engines powered up to maximum speed. The crew began preparing for whatever they might find. In the weapons room, Lieutenant Ryan Clark started checking all the guns and missiles. In engineering, the team made sure the shields were working perfectly. In the medical bay, Dr. Lisa Freeman prepared beds and supplies for possible wounded. Daniel sat alone in his ready room an hour later, drinking coffee and thinking. He looked at the picture on his desk. It showed his wife, Karen, and their 2 daughters, Emma and Sophie. They lived on Earth, in Colorado. He had not seen them in 4 months. What if he was making a mistake? What if this started a war? What if the Galactic Council got angry at Earth for interfering? But then he thought about the Zenthari who were calling for help. They had families too. They had children who were scared. How could he just ignore their call? His door chimed. "Come in," he said. Jake entered and sat down across from him. "The crew is ready. Everyone knows what we're doing and nobody has complained." "That's good," Daniel said. "Are you worried?" Jake smiled a little. "Of course I'm worried. We might be starting something big here, but I think you made the right choice. My grandfather used to say that doing nothing is sometimes worse than making a mistake. Wise man, Daniel said. He was. He was also a Marine, so maybe he was just looking for fights, Jake joked. Daniel laughed. It felt good to laugh before heading into danger. Get some rest, Jake. We have 16 hours before we arrive. I want everyone sharp. After Jake left, Daniel tried to sleep, but he could not. He kept thinking about what they might find at Kepler 442b. The Zenthari were not warriors. Their ships were designed for science and trade, not fighting. If someone was attacking them, it must be bad. He thought about all the alien species humans had met. Most of them were peaceful. They traded goods and shared information. They had rules and laws that everyone followed. But there were rumors about other aliens, ones who did not follow the rules. Pirates and raiders who lived in the wild parts of space where nobody could stop them. At hour 17, Daniel returned to the bridge. The entire crew was there, looking nervous but determined. Kate had dark circles under her eyes from not sleeping. Ryan had checked the weapons 3 times. Chris had calculated their approach vector perfectly. 1 hour until we arrive, Chris announced. The USS Valiant dropped out of hyperspace, and everyone on the bridge gasped at what they saw. The planet Kepler 442b was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents. But around it was a nightmare. Dozens of black warships were shooting at the planet's defense stations. The stations were breaking apart, piece by piece. Debris floated everywhere, the remains of destroyed ships and platforms. Every few seconds, another explosion lit up the dark space. Battle stations. Everyone to combat positions, Daniel said calmly into the ship's intercom. His voice was steady, but inside, his heart was racing. Ryan quickly scanned the enemy ships. Captain, I count 37 enemy vessels. The computer thinks they're Krellian raiders. The Zenthari defenses are almost destroyed. Only about 40% are still working. Daniel had heard about the Krellians in intelligence briefings. They were bad news. Pirates and raiders who lived beyond the edges of civilized space. They stole, killed, and destroyed. But this was not just a raid. This was a full invasion. Why didn't the other council members come to help? Asked Lieutenant Sophie Martinez from the science station. She was a small woman with dark hair and sharp eyes. Jake answered quietly. Because they're scared. The Krellians haven't attacked a council world in over 100 years. If they're doing it now, they must think the council is too weak to fight back. Daniel stared at the tactical display. 1 ship against 37. The math was simple and terrifying. They could not win this fight, but running away was not an option. Captain, we're getting a transmission from the planet, Kate said. Put it on screen. The view screen showed a Zenthari woman. Her skin was blue and covered in dust. Behind her, buildings were burning. Her large eyes looked sad and afraid. Human vessel, you should not have come. This is a slaughter. Run away while you still can. Daniel leaned forward in his chair. With respect, we don't run away when people need help. How long can your shields hold? Maybe 2 more hours. Then they'll land troops and kill everyone. She looked surprised and hopeful at the same time. Why did you come? Earth owes us nothing. You're not even part of the council yet. Daniel smiled, but it was not a happy smile. That's exactly why we came. We don't need a reason to help people. He turned to Ryan. Get all weapons ready. Sophie, find me a weakness in how they're positioned. Jake spoke carefully. Sir, we cannot win this fight. You know that. Maybe not, but we can buy time. Daniel looked at Kate. Send an emergency message to Earth Command. Tell them we're fighting enemy forces and we need help fast. He paused. And send a message on all council frequencies. Tell them Earth is defending Kepler 442b and we're asking for support. The USS Valiant turned toward the enemy fleet and accelerated. Its weapons powered up, and shields went to maximum strength. The Krellian ships noticed the new arrival and began turning to face it. They had no idea what they were about to face. Humans were stubborn, humans did not give up, and the Krellians were about to learn that lesson the hard way. The first enemy ship fired plasma bolts at the Valiant. The bolts were bright green and moved fast. They hit the Valiant's shields with tremendous force. The ship shook violently, consoles sparked, and the lights flickered. "Shields at 75%, Ryan called out. "Returning fire now." The Valiant's main guns were different from most alien weapons. Instead of energy beams or plasma, they shot solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds. The rounds hit the Krellian ship's shields like hammers. The alien shields flickered and failed. The next rounds punched through the hull and the ship exploded. "Direct hit. Target destroyed," Ryan reported. But there was no time to celebrate. 5 more Krellian ships moved to attack. They surrounded the Valiant on all sides, firing continuously. The human ship twisted and turned, trying to avoid the worst of the fire. Return fire from the Valiant damaged 2 more enemy ships, but there were just too many of them. "Shields at 50%, Ryan said. "Hull temperature rising." Sophie suddenly spoke up. "Captain, I found something. The enemy ships are staying far apart from each other. I think they're afraid of hitting each other with their plasma weapons. They fight like individuals, not as a team." Daniel's mind raced. That was it. That was the weakness. "Ryan, prepare missile spread pattern Delta. Jake, give me all engine power right now." Ryan looked worried. "Sir, that pattern will leave our back completely exposed." "I know. Do it anyway. Execute on my mark." The Valiant suddenly accelerated straight toward the Krellian command ship. As it flew forward, it launched 20 missiles in a wide spread. The Krellian ships were confused. They expected the human ship to turn away and run. Instead, it was charging right at them. The Krellian ships found themselves in each other's firing lines. Some held their fire because they did not want to hit their friends. The ones that did fire hit other Krellian ships by accident. Chaos erupted in the enemy formation. The Valiant flew right through the middle of the enemy fleet. As it passed, it used its point defense lasers to detonate its own missiles among the confused enemy ships. The explosions were huge. 3 Krellian ships were destroyed instantly. 5 more were badly damaged. "Yes!" Kate shouted, then looked embarrassed. But Daniel was already planning the next move. "Don't celebrate yet, they're regrouping. Chris, take us toward the planet, low and fast." The Valiant dove toward Kepler 442b, with half the Krellian fleet chasing it. Plasma fire lit up the space behind them. Some shots missed, some hit. The Valiant's shields were failing. "Captain, incoming transmission from Earth Command," Kate announced. Admiral Linda Hayes appeared on screen. She was an older woman with gray hair and a stern face. "Captain Harris, what in the world do you think you're doing?" "Responding to a distress call, Admiral. The Xanthari are being slaughtered and nobody else came to help. You've started an interstellar incident. The Council is furious. They say Earth has no authority to get involved in Council business." Daniel felt angry. "With respect, Admiral, the Council had 3 hours to respond. They did nothing. We did something." Linda sighed. For a moment, she looked proud instead of the USS Valiant dropped out of hyperspace, and everyone on the bridge gasped at what they saw. The planet Kepler 442b was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents. But around it was a nightmare. Dozens of black warships were shooting at the planet's defense stations. The stations were breaking apart piece by piece. Debris floated everywhere, the remains of destroyed ships and platforms. Every few seconds, another explosion lit up the dark space. "Battle stations. Everyone to combat positions," Daniel said calmly into the ship's intercom. His voice was steady, but inside, his heart was racing. Ryan quickly scanned the enemy ships. "Captain, I count 37 enemy vessels. The computer thinks they're Krellian raiders. The Xanthari defenses are almost destroyed. Only about 40% are still working." Daniel had heard about the Krellians in intelligence briefings. They were bad news. Pirates and raiders who lived beyond the edges of civilized space. They stole, killed, and destroyed. But this was not just a raid. This was a full invasion. "Why didn't the other council members come to help?" asked Lieutenant Sophie Martinez from the science station. She was a small woman with dark hair and sharp eyes. Jake answered quietly. "Because they're scared. The Krellians haven't attacked a council world in over 100 years. If they're doing it now, they must think the council is too weak to fight back." Daniel stared at the tactical display. 1 ship against 37. The math was simple and terrifying. They could not win this fight, but running away was not an option. "Captain, we're getting a transmission from the planet," Kate said. "Put it on screen." The view screen showed a Zenthari woman. Her skin was blue and covered in dust. Behind her, buildings were burning. Her large eyes looked sad and afraid. "Human vessel, you should not have come. This is a slaughter. Run away while you still can." Daniel leaned forward in his chair. "With respect, we don't run away when people need help. How long can your shields hold?" "Maybe 2 more hours. Then they'll land troops and kill everyone." She looked surprised and hopeful at the same time. "Why did you come? Earth owes us nothing. You're not even part of the council yet." Daniel smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "That's exactly why we came. We don't need a reason to help people." He turned to Ryan. "Get all weapons ready. Sophie, find me a weakness in how they're positioned." Jake spoke carefully. "Sir, we cannot win this fight. You know that." "Maybe not, but we can buy time." Daniel looked at Kate. "Send an emergency message to Earth Command. Tell them we're fighting enemy forces and we need help fast." He paused. "And send a message on all council frequencies. Tell them Earth is defending Kepler 442b and we're asking for support." The USS Valiant turned toward the enemy fleet and accelerated. Its weapons powered up and shields went to maximum strength. The Krellian ships noticed the new arrival and began turning to face it. They had no idea what they were about to face. Humans were stubborn. Humans did not give up. And the Krellians were about to learn that lesson the hard way. The first enemy ship fired plasma bolts at the Valiant. The bolts were bright green and moved fast. They hit the Valiant's shields with tremendous force. The ship shook violently. Consoles sparked and the lights flickered. "Shields at 75%, Ryan called out. "Returning fire now." The Valiant's main guns were different from most alien weapons. Instead of energy beams or plasma, they shot solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds. The rounds hit the Krellian ship's shields like hammers. The alien shields flickered and failed. The next rounds punched through the hull, and the ship exploded. "Direct hit, target destroyed," Ryan reported. But there was no time to celebrate. 5 more Krellian ships moved to attack. They surrounded the Valiant on all sides, firing continuously. The human ship twisted and turned, trying to avoid the worst of the fire. Return fire from the Valiant damaged 2 more enemy ships, but there were just too many of them. "Shields at 50%, Ryan said, hull temperature rising." Sophie suddenly spoke up. "Captain, I found something. The enemy ships are staying far apart from each other. I think they're afraid of hitting each other with their plasma weapons. They fight like individuals, not as a team." Daniel's mind raced. That was it. That was the weakness. "Ryan, prepare missile spread pattern Delta. Jake, give me all engine power, right now." Ryan looked worried. "Sir, that pattern will leave our back completely exposed." "I know. Do it anyway. Execute on my mark." The Valiant suddenly accelerated straight toward the Krellian command ship. As it flew forward, it launched 20 missiles in a wide spread. The Krellian ships were confused. They expected the human ship to turn away and run. Instead, it was charging right at them. The Krellian ships found themselves in each other's firing lines. Some held their fire because they did not want to hit their friends. The ones that did fire hit other Krellian ships by accident. Chaos erupted in the enemy formation. The Valiant flew right through the middle of the enemy fleet. As it passed, it used its point defense lasers to detonate its own missiles among the confused enemy ships. The explosions were huge. 3 Krellian ships were destroyed instantly. 5 more were badly damaged. "Yes!" Kate shouted, then looked embarrassed. But Daniel was already planning the next move. "Don't celebrate yet. They're regrouping. Chris, take us toward the planet, low and fast." The Valiant dove toward Kepler 442b, with half the Krellian fleet chasing it. Plasma fire lit up the space behind them. Some shots missed, some hit. The Valiant's shields were failing. "Captain, incoming transmission from Earth Command," Kate announced. Admiral Linda Hayes appeared on screen. She was an older woman with gray hair and a stern face. Captain Harris, what in the world do you think you're doing? Responding to a distress call, Admiral. The Zenthari are being slaughtered, and nobody else came to help. You've started an interstellar incident. The Council is furious. They say Earth has no authority to get involved in Council business. Daniel felt angry. With respect, Admiral, the Council had 3 hours to respond. They did nothing. We did something. Linda sighed. For a moment, she looked proud instead of angry. Well, since you've already committed us, I should tell you that 3 more ships are coming. The USS Defiant, USS Ranger, and USS Guardian will arrive in 4 hours. Try not to get killed before then. We'll do our best, Admiral. Valiant out. Jake turned to Daniel. 4 hours, sir. I don't. Admiral Linda Hayes lowered her salute and gestured for Daniel to sit down. Her office on the USS Guardian was large and decorated with pictures from her long military career. She had been in the military for 35 years and had seen a lot. But she had never seen anything quite like what Daniel had just done. You disobeyed protocol, Captain Harris, she said, sitting behind her desk. You engaged an enemy force without authorization from Earth Command. You risked your ship and crew on your own decision. Daniel sat up straight. Yes, Admiral, I did, and I would do it again. Linda smiled slightly. Good answer, because if you had said anything else, I would have been disappointed. She leaned back in her chair. Do you know what's happening right now? Every news network on Earth is talking about you. Every alien species in the galaxy is talking about what happened here. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting for tomorrow. Are they angry? Daniel asked. Some of them are. Some are embarrassed. Some are grateful. It's complicated. Linda pulled up a holographic display. But here's what matters. Before today, Earth was seen as a newcomer, a species that needed to be watched and controlled. Now, everything has changed. The display showed news broadcasts from across the galaxy. Zenthari civilians were being interviewed, crying with gratitude as they talked about the human ship that saved them. Torgothi military leaders were praising Earth's courage. Even species that had been suspicious of humans were now speaking with respect. The Zenthari government has formally requested that Earth be given full membership in the Galactic Council, Linda said. 6 other species have supported the request. That's never happened before. Usually it takes decades of applications and debates. Daniel felt overwhelmed. Admiral, I just wanted to help people. I didn't think about politics or membership. I know. That's what makes this so powerful. Linda stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the repair ships were working on the damaged Valiant. You acted without thinking about what Earth would gain. You did it because it was right. That's the kind of character the galaxy respects. She turned back to Daniel. You lost 3 crew members. How are you handling that? Daniel's face became sad. Not well, Admiral. Peter, Amy, and Alex died because of my decision. Their families will never see them again. No, Captain. They died because Krellian raiders attacked innocent people. They died heroes, protecting others. That matters. Linda's voice was firm but kind. War has a cost. Leadership has a cost. You'll carry those 3 names with you forever. But don't let guilt make you forget that you also saved 10 million Zenthari lives. That counts too. Daniel nodded slowly. What happens now? Now, you're going to the council meeting tomorrow. You, me, and Ambassador Wright. The council wants to hear directly from the captain who stood alone against an entire fleet. Linda smiled. Oh, and one more thing. The president of Earth called me personally. She wants to give you the Medal of Honor. I don't deserve that, Admiral. My crew does. Your crew will get medals too. Every single person on the Valiant is being recognized. But you made the decision that started everything. You bear that responsibility, so you get that recognition. A message came through on Linda's communicator. Admiral, the Zenthari planetary governor is requesting permission to come aboard and meet Captain Harris. Send him up, Linda said. She looked at Daniel. Prepare yourself. You're about to meet someone whose life you saved. 10 minutes later, the Zenthari governor entered the office. He was tall for a Zenthari, with deep blue skin and large golden eyes. His name was Governor Thalen, and he had been leading the evacuation efforts when the Krellians attacked. Captain Harris, Thalen said in English. His voice was musical, like all Zenthari voices. I have been waiting to meet you. Daniel stood up. Governor, I'm glad we could help. Thalen's eyes became wet with tears. Help? Captain, you saved my entire world. My wife and 3 children were in the capital city. They would be dead now if not for you. He stepped forward and did something unexpected. He knelt down. Please, Governor, don't, Daniel said, uncomfortable. I must, Thalen said. In Zenthari culture, we kneel before those who save our families. It is the highest honor we can give. He stood back up. My people want to build a monument to your ship. We want to name our rebuilt capital city after Earth. We want our children to learn about the day humanity proved that honor still exists in the galaxy. Daniel did not know what to say. He looked at Admiral Hayes, who just smiled. Thalen continued. For 3 hours we called for help. We sent distress signals to every council member. We begged for assistance, and nobody came. We thought the galaxy had abandoned us. Then your ship arrived. 1 ship, 1 crew, and you stood between us and death. We just did what anyone should do, Daniel said. But nobody else did it, Thalen said firmly. That is the difference. That is why humanity is special. You do not wait for permission to do the right thing. You do not calculate the cost before helping others. You simply act. Over the next few hours, Daniel met with his crew. They gathered in the Guardian's main hangar, where the Valiant was docked for repairs. The ship looked terrible. Huge holes in the hull, scorch marks everywhere. Entire sections were missing or damaged beyond repair. But the crew was proud. They stood together, dirty and exhausted, and they smiled. They had done something incredible. They had held off an entire fleet for hours. They had saved a world. Ryan approached Daniel. Captain, the weapons teams want you to know that we fired every single missile and used 90% of our railgun ammunition. We left everything on the battlefield. Kate added, the communications logs show we received over 10,000 messages from the Zenthari during the battle. They were watching us fight for them. They were cheering us on. Sophie said, Sir, I've been analyzing the battle data. By all calculations, we should have been destroyed in the first 20 minutes. The fact that we survived almost 4 hours is statistically impossible. Jake put his hand on Daniel's shoulder. It wasn't statistics or luck, it was this crew. Every single person did their job perfectly under impossible pressure. That evening, Daniel sat alone in his temporary quarters on the Guardian. He wrote 3 letters to the families of the crew members who had died. He told them that their loved ones were heroes, that they had died saving millions of lives, that Earth would never forget them. He also wrote a report of the battle for Earth Command. He made sure to mention every crew member by name and describe their contributions. If people were going to talk about the Battle of Kepler 442b, they needed to know it was not just one captain. It was an entire crew working together. As he finished writing, a message came through. It was from the Galactic Council chamber was the most impressive building Daniel had ever seen. It was located on the planet Concordia, which was neutral territory belonging to all council members. The building was shaped like a massive sphere, made from some kind of crystal that changed colors in the light. Inside, it was even more amazing. The main chamber was huge, with seats arranged in circular tiers rising up from the central floor. Each tier held delegates from different species. Daniel counted 63 different species represented. Some looked almost human. Others were so alien that Daniel had trouble understanding how they even communicated. There were species made of gas, species made of crystals, species that looked like insects, and species that defied easy description. Daniel stood on the central floor with Admiral Hayes and Ambassador Helen Wright on either side of him. He wore his dress uniform, which had been cleaned and pressed. The cuts on his face had healed enough that they were just thin red lines now. He tried not to look nervous, but his hands were sweating. The council speaker was an Elothian named Crystalline Mindkeeper. The Elothians were an ancient species that looked like walking crystals. They communicated through light patterns, and a computer translated their words into sound that others could understand. We gathered to discuss the incident at Kepler 442b, the speaker said. His translated voice was calm and emotionless. The matter before us is complex. Humanity acted without council authorization. However, they also saved millions of Zenthari lives. We must decide what this means. A delegate from the Torgothi Empire stood up. He was large and reptilian, with green scales and yellow eyes. Humanity violated our protocols. They engaged in military action in council space without permission. This cannot be tolerated. What if every species decided to send military forces whenever they felt like it? We would have chaos. A Zenthari delegate, a female named Counselor Mira, stood next. The Torgothi speaks of protocols and permissions. But where were the council ships when we were dying? We followed protocols. We sent proper distress calls. We waited for council response. And we got nothing. If humanity had also waited for permission, we would all be dead now. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many delegates looked uncomfortable. A Palaxian delegate spoke next. Palaxians looked like tall birds with colorful feathers. Let us be honest about what happened. The Krellian raiders attacked because they thought we were weak. They thought we would debate and discuss while they murdered innocents. They were almost correct. We should be ashamed. More arguing erupted. Some species defended the Council's careful approach. Others criticized it. Some praised Earth's action. Others feared it. The debate went on for over an hour. Finally, the speaker called for order. We will now hear from the humans directly. Captain Daniel Harris, you may speak. Daniel walked to the exact center of the floor. All eyes turned to him. He had prepared a speech, but looking at all these alien faces, he decided to speak from his heart instead. Honorable delegates, I'm just a ship captain. I'm not a diplomat or a politician. I don't fully understand all your rules and customs. I've only been exploring space for a few years, while some of you have been doing it for thousands of years. He paused. But I understand one thing clearly. When someone calls for help, you answer. It's that simple. A few delegates nodded. Others looked skeptical. Daniel continued. 3 hours. The Zenthari called for help for 3 hours. I'm not blaming anyone specifically. I'm sure you all had your reasons for not responding immediately. Maybe you were waiting for proper authorization. Maybe you were calculating the risks. Maybe you were debating the correct protocol. But while you were doing all that, people were dying. The chamber was silent now. My crew and I risked our lives because we believe that protecting innocent people is more important than following every rule perfectly. We didn't do it because we expected rewards. We didn't do it to gain council membership. We did it because it was right. Daniel's voice grew stronger. And if being human means we can't join your council because we care more about saving lives than following procedures, then we'll accept that. We'll keep doing what's right anyway, with or without your approval. Several delegates began making gestures that Daniel's translator said meant approval. The Zenthari delegates were openly weeping. Then Admiral Hayes stepped forward. May I add something, Council? The speaker nodded. You may speak, Admiral Hayes. Linda's voice was firm and clear. Earth is new to galactic society. We make mistakes. We don't always understand your ways, but I'll tell you what we do understand. We understand loyalty. We understand courage. We understand sacrifice. She gestured to Daniel. Captain Harris put his career and his life at risk to save people he barely knew. His crew followed him into impossible odds. 3 of them died. 17 more were wounded. And they would do it again tomorrow if someone else needed help. She turned to face the entire council. You can accept Earth as a member, or you can reject us. Either way, we will continue to stand up for what's right. We will answer distress calls. We will protect the innocent. We will fight against those who prey on the weak. That's not negotiable. That's who we are. Ambassador Helen Wright spoke last. The council was founded on principles of mutual protection and cooperation. Over the centuries, maybe those principles became lost in bureaucracy and caution. Earth is reminding you of what you're supposed to be. We're not asking to change your rules. We're asking you to remember why those rules existed in the first place. The chamber erupted in discussion. Delegates argued with each other in dozens of different languages. The noise was overwhelming. Finally, the speaker called for silence. The council will now vote on Earth's petition for full membership. The vote took almost an hour. Each species cast their vote publicly. The Xanthari voted yes immediately. So did several other species who had been attacked by raiders in the past. Some species voted no, fearing that Earth was too aggressive. Some abstained, unsure what to do. When all votes were counted, the result appeared on a massive holographic display. Earth's petition had passed by 7 votes. It was close, but it was enough. Earth was now a full member of the Galactic Council. The Xanthari delegates cheered. The Palaxians made a trilling sound of celebration. Even some of the species who had voted no seemed pleased with the result. Governor Thalen approached Daniel after the vote. "Thank you, Captain. You have done more than save my world. You have reminded the galaxy what honor means." Over the next few days, Daniel became something of a celebrity. News crews from dozens of worlds wanted to interview him. Children on multiple planets were playing games where they pretended to be the crew of the Valiant. Songs were being written about the battle. Artists were creating paintings and sculptures. Daniel found it all overwhelming and a bit embarrassing. He insisted on sharing credit with his entire crew. Every interview mentioned their names. Every news story talked about their courage. The 3 crew members who had died were honored as heroes across the galaxy. The Xanthari built 3 monuments to them. Earth named 3 new ships after them. Their families received messages of gratitude from species they had never heard of. 3 months had passed since the Battle of Kepler, 442b. The USS Valiant was on patrol in a quiet sector of space near the border between Council territory and the lawless regions beyond. Captain Daniel Harris had settled into a routine, but he never forgot the lessons of that day. The ship had a new crew member, Lieutenant Gary Foster, who replaced one of the wounded crew members who had chosen to retire. Gary was young and eager, constantly asking questions about the famous battle. The other crew members were patient with him, understanding his excitement. Life on the Valiant had changed in some ways. The crew was more confident now. They knew what they were capable of. They had faced impossible odds and survived. But they were also more careful. They remembered the 3 friends they had lost. Every decision was made with their memory in mind. Earth's fleet had grown significantly. The Council vote had opened doors for humanity. Other species were now willing to trade technology and share information. Earth was building new ships, training new crews, and establishing bases across Council space. But more importantly, Earth had changed how the galaxy worked. When distress calls went out now, they got responses. Multiple ships would arrive to help. The Krellian raids had nearly stopped because raiders knew they would face serious opposition. Other pirate groups were being hunted down by combined human and alien task forces. Daniel was in his ready room reviewing reports when Kate's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's from a Vexian merchant vessel. They're reporting that their convoy is being followed by unknown ships." The Vexians were a peaceful trading species. They looked like large insects with 6 arms and compound eyes. They had voted against Earth's Council membership, but Daniel did not hold grudges. "Where are they?" Daniel asked. "About 2 hours away at maximum speed. They say the unknown ships haven't attacked yet, but they're maintaining a threatening distance." Daniel walked onto the bridge. "Set course for their location. Kate, send a message to the Vexian convoy. Tell them the USS Valiant is responding and will arrive in 2 hours." Chris started plotting the course. "Captain, there's a Torgothi patrol ship 4 hours away. Should we request backup?" "Yes, but we're not waiting for them. If those merchants are in danger, 2 hours might be too long already." Daniel sat in his command chair. "Battle stations, but passive sensors only. Let's not spook whoever is following those merchants." As the Valiant raced toward the convoy, Daniel thought about how different this was from 3 months ago. Back then, they had been alone, responding to a call that everyone else had ignored. Now, other ships were coming to help. The galaxy was learning. 2 hours later, they dropped out of hyperspace near the Vexian convoy. There were 6 merchant ships, large and slow, carrying goods to trade. Surrounding them were 3 sleek raiders, not Krellian, but a different species called the Sarathi. The Sarathi were known for boarding merchant ships and stealing cargo. "The raiders are powering up weapons," Ryan reported. "They've noticed us." "Open a channel," Daniel ordered. The lead raider's captain appeared on screen. He was Sarathi, with gray skin and no visible nose. Human ship, this is none of your concern. Leave now. This is Captain Daniel Harris of the USS Valiant. These merchants are under council protection. You need to leave immediately. The Sarathi captain laughed. One ship? You think you can stop us? We heard stories about Kepler 442b. We think they are exaggerated. Daniel smiled coldly. Would you like to find out? For a moment, the Sarathi captain hesitated. The stories about Earth might be exaggerated, but they might also be true. Was it worth the risk? Before he could decide, two more ships dropped out of hyperspace. A Torgathi patrol ship and, surprisingly, a Zenthari military vessel. The Zenthari ship sent a message on all frequencies. This is the ZNS Valiant's honor. We stand with our human friends. Raiders, you have 10 seconds to leave. The Sarathi captain's face showed fear. 3 ships, including one named after the famous human vessel. The odds had turned against him. We're leaving. No trouble today. The 3 raider ships turned and jumped away into hyperspace. The crisis was over without a single shot fired. The Vexian convoy sent a grateful message. Thank you, Captain Harris. We did not expect help to arrive so quickly. We are in your debt. No debt necessary, Daniel replied. Just doing our job. The Torgathi commander, a female named Captain Vextar, sent a visual message. Well handled, Captain Harris. It seems your reputation is now doing some of the work for you. Daniel laughed. I suppose that's a good thing. Thank you for coming to help. The Zenthari ship's captain, a male named Commander Silex, also called. Captain Harris, my ship is named after yours. It is an honor to serve beside you. The Zenthari people do not forget what Earth did for us. Later that day, after the convoy had safely continued on its journey, Daniel gathered his senior crew in the conference room. That was easier than expected, Jake said. They ran before we even had to fight. That won't always happen, Daniel cautioned. Some raiders will call our bluff. Some won't care about our reputation. We still need to be ready for real fights. Sophie nodded. But it's still significant. 3 months ago, those merchants would have been robbed or worse. Now, multiple ships responded to their call. The galaxy is changing. Kate added, I've been monitoring communications. More species are joining joint patrol efforts. The Council is actually working together now instead of just talking about it. Ryan looked thoughtful. Do you think the Krellians will try again? They lost badly at Kepler 442b, but they're still out there. Probably, Daniel said. But next time, they'll face more than one human ship. They'll face a united Council fleet. That's the real victory here. We didn't just save the Zenthari, we woke up the galaxy. The months turned into a year. The USS Valiant continued its patrols, responding to distress calls and protecting trade routes. They fought several more battles, though none as desperate as Kepler 442b. Earth's fleet grew larger and more experienced. More species joined the active defense efforts. Daniel was promoted to commander and given authority over a small task force of 3 ships. The Valiant remained his flagship, but now he coordinated with the USS Ranger and USS Phoenix as well. His task force became known for its quick response times and effective tactics. He trained new captains, teaching them the lessons he had learned. Always answer the call, he would tell them. Always protect the innocent. Always stand between evil and those who cannot defend themselves. That's what it means to be human. That's what it means to be part of Earth's fleet. Back on Earth, the story of Kepler 442b was taught in schools. Children grew up knowing that humanity had proven itself to the galaxy. New recruits joined the military inspired by the tale of one ship holding the line against impossible odds. The 3 crew members who had died became legendary. Their families were honored. Scholarships were created in their names. New ships were named after them. They would never be forgotten. One day, Daniel received a message from Governor Thalen. The Zenthari had finished rebuilding their capital city. They had named it Valiant City, in honor of the ship that saved them. The central square had a massive statue showing the USS Valiant flying toward the planet with weapons firing. Around the base were inscribed the names of every crew member who had served on the ship that day. You must come see it, Thalen wrote. You and your entire crew. My people want to thank you properly. Daniel took the Valiant back to Kepler 442b for the dedication ceremony. The planet looked completely different now. The damage from the battle had been repaired. New buildings stood where old ones had been destroyed. The orbital stations were rebuilt and upgraded. When the Valiant arrived, they were greeted by an honor guard of Zenthari ships. The entire crew was invited to the planet's surface for a week of celebrations. The statue was beautiful. It captured the Valiant perfectly, showing the ship's determination and courage. Daniel stood in front of it with tears in his eyes, surrounded by his crew. Millions of Zenthari came to thank them personally. Children gave them flowers, artists gave them paintings, musicians performed songs. It was overwhelming. On the final day, Governor Thalen gave a speech in front of a crowd of over 1 million people. 1 year ago, we faced death. We called for help, and nobody came. Nobody except Earth. One ship, one crew, one captain who refused to abandon us. They fought for us. They bled for us. 3 of them died for us. And they gave us something more precious than our lives. They gave us hope. He turned to Daniel. Captain Harris, you and your crew showed the galaxy what true courage looks like. You reminded us all of what we should aspire to be. The Zenthari people will never forget this. Our children's children will tell this story, and they will know that when darkness came, Earth brought the light. As Daniel stood there, listening to the cheers of millions of grateful people, he thought about the choice he had made a year ago. He had risked everything. He could have been wrong. It could have ended badly, but he had listened to his conscience instead of his fears. That night, the crew of the Valiant gathered together one final time before leaving Kepler 442b. They sat around a table in a Zenthari restaurant, eating strange but delicious food, sharing stories and laughing. Do you think we changed anything? Gary asked. He was no longer the nervous young officer who had joined the crew. He had grown into a confident and capable member of the team. Daniel looked around at his crew. These people who had faced death with him. These friends who had trusted his judgment even when it seemed crazy. Yes, he said. We changed everything. We showed the galaxy what humanity is capable of, not just in battle, but in character. We proved that doing the right thing matters more than following rules perfectly. Jake raised his glass. To the Valiant and her crew. Everyone raised their glasses. To the Valiant. As the USS Valiant left Kepler 442b the next day, heading back to patrol duty, Daniel sat in his command chair and smiled. The galaxy was a better place now. More species were working together. More ships were protecting the innocent. More voices were answering when people called for help. And it had all started because one crew refused to ignore a distress call. One ship stood alone against impossible odds. One captain made a choice to help people who needed it. The universe had learned that when aliens desperately sent an SOS, Earth's fleet would always arrive, always answer, always stand between the innocent and those who would harm them. That was the promise humanity had made, and they would keep it, forever. 1 week after the council vote, Daniel returned to the Valiant. The ship had been repaired and upgraded. The council had provided some of their advanced technology as a gift. The ship was now faster, tougher, and better armed than before. As Daniel walked through the corridors, he saw that the crew had made some changes. In the main hallway, there was a new plaque. It listed the names of the 3 crew members who had died, along with the words, "They stood between the innocent and evil. They did not fail." Daniel stood in front of the plaque for a long time. Ryan, Kate, Sophie, Chris, and Jake joined him. "We want to remember them every day," Kate said quietly. "They deserves that," Daniel agreed. Jake handed him a datapad. "Sir, our new orders just came through. We're being assigned to patrol the council borders. Our mission is to respond to any distress calls in our sector." Daniel smiled. "Sounds perfect." As the USS Valiant prepared to leave Concordia, Daniel stood on the bridge looking at the stars. Earth's fleet was now spread across the galaxy, ready to help anyone who needed it. Other species were starting to see humans as friends and protectors. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Having power was not enough. You had to be willing to use that power to defend others. You had to stand up when standing up was hard. You had to answer when people called for help. Earth had shown them the way. Wife, Karen, she had seen the news broadcasts. She had heard about the battle. Her message was short. I was so scared when I heard what happened. But I'm so proud of you. The girls are proud too. Come home safe. We love you. Daniel smiled, feeling tears in his eyes. He had risked everything today. His life, his crew, his ship, his career. But it had been worth it. The galaxy was a little bit safer now. The Xanthari were alive. And maybe, just maybe, other species would think twice before attacking innocent people, knowing that Earth would respond. He looked at the star map on his wall. Earth was a small planet in a huge galaxy. Humans were just one species among hundreds. But today, humanity had made a statement. They had shown the galaxy what they stood for. Tomorrow, he would go to the council meeting. He would face politicians and diplomats and species that had existed for thousands of years longer than humanity. Some would praise him. Some would criticize him. Some would fear what Earth had done. But none of that mattered as much as the simple fact that 10 million Xanthari were alive tonight because Earth had answered their call. Daniel finally went to sleep, exhausted but satisfied. Outside his window, the stars shined bright. And somewhere among those stars, other people might be in danger. Other voices might call for help. And Earth would answer. Always. Think we can last that long? Then we'll have to be creative. Daniel looked at Sophie. I need you to study the planet's magnetic field. Ryan, get every torpedo ready. We're going to show these raiders why they should leave our friends alone. The Krellian fleet was coming around for another attack. They were angry now. They wanted to destroy this annoying human ship. The USS Valiant was damaged and leaking air from several hull breaches, but it was still fighting. On the planet below, millions of Xanthari watched the battle. They could not believe what they were seeing. One small human ship was standing between them and certain death. The humans barely knew them. Earth owed them nothing. Yet here they were, fighting impossible odds. The battle was far from over. Angry. Well, since you've already committed us, I should tell you that 3 more ships are coming. The USS Defiant, USS Ranger, and USS Guardian will arrive in 4 hours. Try not to get killed before then. We'll do our best, Admiral. Valiant out. Jake turned to Daniel. 4 hours, sir. I don't think we can last that long. Then we'll have to be creative. Daniel looked at Sophie. I need you to study the planet's magnetic field. Ryan, get every torpedo ready. We're going to show these raiders why they should leave our friends alone. The Krellian fleet was coming around for another attack. They were angry now. They wanted to destroy this annoying human ship. The USS Valiant was damaged and leaking air from several hull breaches. But it was still fighting. On the planet below, millions of Xanthari watched the battle. They could not believe what they were seeing. One small human ship was standing between them and certain death. The humans barely knew them. Earth owed them nothing. Yet here they were, fighting impossible odds. The battle was far from over. Daniel pressed the button on his chair. All hands, this is the captain. In 1 hour, we'll drop out of hyperspace at Kepler 442b. I won't lie to you. We don't know what we're going to find there. But the Xanthari asked for help, and nobody else came. So we're going to show the galaxy what humans do when someone needs help. We're going to stand up and fight. Battle stations in 30 minutes. Harris out. The ship seemed to hold its breath as they counted down the final minutes. Daniel gripped his armrest tightly. Whatever came next would change everything. The universe was about to learn that when humans made a promise, they kept it.